Hello, my CFA friends. It is the Masterclass Grand Finale, my friends. I'm gonna feel a bit nostalgic in a minute if this goes on any longer, so let's get started. All right, my little stickman here is also a little sad. But at least he said he is planning on doing a topic assessment on economics this weekend. So I hope you will follow him. Okay, well, let's get started. Exchange rate calculations. Okay, exciting. We're gonna learn how to calculate cross rates. So cross rates is when we are given a couple of pairs and there is a common currency that will cancel out. Also, we'll talk about forward premium and discount. So when the forward is above or below the spot exchange rate and what actually causes them, we'll discuss that. Forward quotations, so different ways of expressing the price of the forward contract. And also we're going to talk about the arbitrage-free forward price from the all-important interest rate parity. So very exciting. So let's get started. Okay. So a couple of basics here. What is the difference between a spot and a forward? Well, the spot is the exchange rate for immediate delivery. So if I'm going on holiday, say this weekend, I will probably need to get some foreign currency in the spot market, right? Because I will need that currency very soon. If, however, I'm planning to buy a house in another country in, let's say, 6 months' time, then I may want to play in the forward market because I want to lock in the purchase price of that foreign currency. Okay, now what about the cross rates? So remember, cross rates will occur when we have essentially two pairs. In this case, we have dollar over pound, and we also have Swiss over dollar. And as you can see, the dollar is the common currency, but not only that, we have arranged them in such a way that when we multiply, the common currency will actually cancel out and we shall be left with Swiss over pound. So we're going to know how many Swiss francs we can purchase with 1 pound. Okay, so firstly, we know that 1 pound buys $1.56. We also know, right, so remember that's the base. So the base is the 1 unit. I believe you must have watched the video where I explained that. And then Swiss over dollar implies the $1 buys 1.486 Swiss. Notice here that the dollar is my common currency, which will cancel out on multiplication, and I shall be left with Swiss over pound. So I can interpret that as 1 pound is gonna buy me to spot 3182 Swiss francs. Okay, so let's get into a little example, a little bit more complicated. So a research report produced by a dealer includes the following spot trade quotes. So you got dollar over euro, Swiss over dollar, dollar over pound. And they want the spot pound over euro cross rate. Okay, so notice here in the table, we don't have pound over euro. We will have to imply it through a cross rate. So let's write it as a ratio, as a fraction GBP over euro. And let's first figure out how we are going to produce this. We'll check in the table and find any pair that has the euro as the denominator. That's got it. So we can start with USD over Euro. And now we need to multiply in such a way that the dollar is going to cancel out. So I'm going to want the dollar to be down here. And I'm going to want the pound to be up here. So I'm going to want the GBP over dollar. Notice that they've given me dollar over GBP. So there will be some reciprocation going on here. So the first pair is just given. USD over Euro is 1.1701. So let's just write that down. For the second pair, we will need to reciprocate. So it's going to be 1 over. And of course, the quote was 1 spot 3118. So effectively, what am I going to do here is 1.17 divided by 1.31. And after the dust settles, I am going to get 89.20, which is option alpha. Okay, circle alpha, don't worry about it and move on with your life. Okay, now next thing, let's have a look at the forward discount or premium. So again, it's all about the base. It's all about the base. Which one is my base? Okay, so if the forward is greater than the spot, so if the forward is greater than the spot, then the base is trading at premium. If the forward is below the spot, then the base is trading at a discount. This is always how you're gonna memorize it. Okay, if you try to memorize too many things, you're risking not memorizing anything at all. So you're gonna always focus on the base. If the forward's above the spot, base trading at premium. So for example, this number could be 1.8, this number could be 1.5, right? So if it was dollars over pound, right? Dollars over pound, that means that the base, the pound, is trading at a premium. Okay, if here this number was $1.2 per pound and this number was 1.5, then the base, either pound, is trading at a discount. Now, if the examiner tries to be a little bit tricky, tries to ask you about the price currency, the numerator currency, which in this case is the dollar, well, then just reverse the logic, right? If you told them that the base was trading at premium, then the price currency or the numerator currency, the quoted currency, must have been trading at a discount, right? Base is trading at premium, then the numerator currency must be trading at discount. All right, enough said on that. And now let's think about how we're gonna quote currencies. So we're gonna use basically points. Remember, points or pips are the last digits of the quote. Remember, currencies are quoted to 4 decimal places. The last decimal place is the pip. So here I can do this essentially in one of 3 ways. And I'm going to tell you which one's my favorite way. Hopefully that will also be your favorite way. But I've got the spot here, so 1.4320. And what I can do here is they're telling me, okay, the forward is trading at plus 21.1 pips. That means premium. So I can do 22.1 over 10,000. I can do it like that. Or I can also do it like this. I can add 22.1 times spot treble 01. Yeah, so that's mathematically obviously the same. And in both cases, the answer will be 1 spot 43, 42, 1. Okay. And now, how do I do it? Well, I know that the pips are the final decimal places. So what I do is I go 143.20 and then I just line up these numbers with the final decimal places. So I put a 22 here, and a quick and dirty tells me that this has to be 43.42, right? That one there doesn't really matter, but obviously, if you know that the pips are essentially the fourth and the third decimal places, you can just line them up like that, and happy days. All right, forward quotes percentage basis. So they could give you the pips, the points, or they could give it to you as a percentage. So in this question, they say, all right, the spot is $1.6135. So that means £1 buys me $1.6135, but the 90-day forward quote is minus spot 29%. So that means that the forward is trading at a discount. It's below the spot, as you can see from the minus. So you're just gonna apply a HPR formula. You're basically gonna haircut or discount the spot by 29 bips. That's pretty straightforward. So just take the spot, then do 1 minus, put the 29 bips in a decimal, which means spot 0029, effectively haircutting the spot down to 160.88. And you can see here that because the forward is below the spot, we could say in this case that the pound is trading at a forward discount, but logically reversing that for the price currency, the dollar must be trading at a forward premium. Okay. Now also, you should be comfortable converting from points to percentage quotes, because really they are the same thing. So suppose the question told us that, a certain forward was trading at 47 points discount. Well, what is the percentage quote? Okay, with the percentage quote, we're going to take that 47 points and turn it into decimal. So we know that that's going to be spot 0047, because this got to be the third and fourth decimal places. We're just going to take that as a percentage of our spot. So in our case, the spot is 16135. Okay. And that's going to come back to essentially 0029, which was negative spot 29%. So basically, what they're telling me here is that there are fundamentally two different ways of quoting this forward premium or discount, but they're essentially ultimately mathematically identical. Okay, and then the all important, that's probably the most important slide here and the most technical slide here. And obviously that's also something I want you to know, because you're going to be seeing this again at level 2 under the code name covered interest rate parity, or you can just call it interest rate parity. Okay, so here what we are saying is that the forward price, or the arbitrage free or the no arbitrage forward price, which is quoted price over base, so quoted over base, right? Numerator over denominator. The forward price will be given by the spot price and by the two interest rates. And here we're just going to follow the simple logic that we put the interest rate associated with the price currency in the numerator and the interest rate associated with the base currency in the denominator. So you can't really get confused here. Now, there is an interesting point here. The currency with the higher interest rate will trade at a forward discount. Now, often people get puzzled by this statement. They say, well, Martin, isn't a currency supposed to appreciate when the interest rate is higher? Yes, but that's not what this statement is saying, right? If a currency has a higher yield, yes, people will want to hold it. The spot may appreciate. This is not what this statement is about. This statement is about preventing arbitrage. So if one currency has a higher rate, that same currency has to trade at a forward discount to prevent arbitrage. At level 2, we're going to talk about carry traders. In the 90s, the famous Japanese carry trader would borrow Japanese yen, obviously at zero, and then fly them to a higher yielding currency and then try to capture a differential, right? That's called a carry trade. We're going to talk about this at level 2. But the point is, carry trade has a lot of risk. Carry trade is an unhedged trade. If you want to hedge your trade, you're always going to use a forward. So you're going to borrow cheap, lend expensive, and then short the expensive, the higher yielding currency in the forward market. And to prevent arbitrage, that higher yielding currency must trade at a forward discount. Don't worry if you're finding this complicated at this point, because it's kind of more level 2 knowledge than level 1 knowledge, but I just wanted to clarify what that statement meant. And the most important thing for you guys is obviously going to be able to deliver the goods here with the actual computation. Okay, so let's look at the computation. Of course, you know what you gotta do. Maybe pause the video here, see if you can figure out what's supposed to happen. It's a pretty complex example, and then we shall see together. Okay, so if the 270-day LABA. Now, of course, LABA is being phased out, so in many questions you might see MRR, which is market reference rate, but you might see some legacy LIBOR references as well. So here we've got LIBOR, it's annualized, but we're using a 360-day count convention in this question, and I can kind of see this by the use of this terminology. Okay, so I've got the 270-day LIBOR for the euro and British pound as 137 and 1325 respectively. Now, whenever I've got this kind of wording respectively, I become uber careful because I don't want to muddle it up. So the euro rate is this. Okay, so that's the euro rate. Maybe just pays dividends to write it down. And then the pound rate is up here. Okay. And then we've got GBP over euro. This is also going to be very important because I want to be clear which one is my price currency, which one is my base currency. And then I've got the spot exchange rate at spot 84.89. And so that is where I'm going to start. Okay, so I'm going to go 0.8489, right? That's the spot. Now I need to get my interest rates correctly. So notice that GBP is my price currency, euro is my base. So I'm going to follow the famous numerator denominator rule. So because pound is the numerator, I'm going to find the numerator interest rate, which is, as I've written, 1.325. Now, career changers get very puzzled sometimes with the fact that all rates in finance are quoted annualized. Okay, so this isn't actually the rate for 270 days, but it is the rate on an annualized basis. And so you're going to have to de-annualize it. So you're going to go 1 plus. Then you're going to put this rate here. And then you can multiply by 270 over 360. But if you think about it, 270 over 360 is a very common fraction. And that fraction is 3/4, or in decimal, spot 75. So I like to save some time here and write spot 75. If that later puzzles you, just remember that's nothing but 270 over 360. Okay, and then for the denominator, I'm gonna be using the euro rate. So 1 plus, the euro rate is 137. And again, I'm going to use spot 75, or you can use 270 over 360. Now here, some of my students are struggling with this. Remember year 5. I'm going to bring you back, time machine. Let's go back to year 5. What were you doing in year 5? Well, you were doing something known as BODMAS. BODMAS, okay? Brackets, orders, divisions, multiplication, addition, subtraction. So make sure that you multiply first, then you add at the end. Otherwise, it ain't gonna work. Okay, so that's going to be basically your interest rate parity, or if you like, I guess the arbitrage-free price of our forward. So I'm gonna go here as 0.84862. So that is the arbitrage-free forward price. Notice that the question here actually wants me to calculate the forward premium or discount, or rather the points, the forward points. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 84,862 minus, okay, what was the spot? 84,89. And then obviously that's going to be in decimal. So I'm going to have to multiply by 10,000 here, my friends, by 10,000. And that's going to give me, obviously, option Charlie, minus 2.8. Okay, so I think that's all, my friends. That is all, my friends. We have reached the end, my friends, of the economics master classes. Well, I hope I made your studies more fun, if fun can be used as the right word here. Friends, link me in. Martin Stoyanov is the name. Tell me you watch these videos. When you get your result, let me know as well. And I wish you all the best for this exam, my friends. And see you again at level 2.